Hello, everybody. My name is Liz Phillips, aka illuminatedSpace. Today I'm going to be talking to you about getting your second coding job. Can everybody hear me okay? Alright, so this talk, I gave it a cute title, which is getting your second coding job, but a lot of this is good advice for getting your first job, and even more of it is great advice for getting every job after that. If you want to follow along with the slides, there's a link on my Twitter, which is @LizCodes, and there's also a tiny URL there that also takes you to the slides, a view only of the slides. All right, so here's a picture of me from about 4 years ago in grad school, grinding metal. I guess you're wondering how I got from there to here. And the answer is that I used to work in theater. That's where I got this sweet picture. And I'm a proud boot camp grad. I graduated grad school, went to coding boot camp, and I just got my second coding job at Spotify. This talk has nothing to do with Spotify. It's not affiliated with Spotify. Yeah, all opinions are my own. So what are we doing during this talk? We're going to talk about how to get the job. We're going to talk about how I got my job, a short timeline, and then we're going to do questions, and we got a lot to get through. All right, so how to get the job, part 1. Is it time? First, is it time to get that second job? So there's a few reasons you might want to get your second job if you're currently at your first job. You've outgrown the position. That's one reason. So you started your first job, maybe you found some specialty that you want to focus on, like, oh, I'm a front-end dev now, but I actually really want to do back-end, or I want to do security, or I want to do data. So that's a reason to get a different job. So you've outgrown it, or you're not being challenged anymore. You've been there for a while. There's not really anything new for you to learn at that specific company. There's not mentors available to you to help you grow. That's outgrowing the job. Another reason is you actually don't have a job currently. Job who? Job what? So that would be maybe you were fired, maybe you quit, maybe you were laid off. Not having a job is a great time to look for another job, right? So that could be another reason. And if you don't have a job right now, it's okay. You're going to get through it. We're going to get you on to the next step. I believe in you. And the last one is you're feeling burned out. And if you took a picture of yourself right now, it would look a little bit like this. We've all been there. You say it's fine, but it's really not. Greatest hits of feeling burned out. This doesn't matter anymore. What are they going to do? Fire me? Do I even want to do this? Am I even good at this? These are all things that you might be saying to yourself if you're feeling burned out. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means you might need a different place. You might need to take a step back and really think about how to get yourself on the right track again. All right, so you decided it's time, right? It's time to get a new job. That means you should quit, right? Well, Peggy, no, it's not time to quit. What it's time for is to start phase 1. So if you currently have a position, don't quit. Unless, you're not safe, or like you really, if you're not safe at your job, obviously you should leave. But yeah, if you can, keep that job because it's going to give you better leverage for your next position. If you don't have a job currently, that's okay too. People get jobs all the time without having a current job. Don't stress about it. But if you have the job, keep the job. So next step, get a support system. Just like Moira says, when one of us shines, all of us shine. So you're going to want to get some buddies together that are going to act as accountability for you. They're also going to act as a support system to help you celebrate when good things happen and help prop you back up when you get some rejections and help you turn those L's into lessons. Yeah, this is also a great way to share among a group. So if there's like a Discord server, a Slack server, or some group chat with old schoolmates or coworkers or something, that's a good place to be able to share this type of information, because what you learn in your job search is going to help somebody else also, and it's going to make everybody feel good. All right, and you need to start saving your PTO. So if you're feeling burned out specifically and you literally can't even anymore and you want to take some mental health days, I'm going to need you to literally can some more, because you got to save those PTO days for interviews and phone calls and planning and everything else. So try to stop taking those mental health days. And the next step is make your wish list. So you're going to think up your dream job. What are all the characteristics that your dream job would have? And that dream job is going to include, you're going to think about it in 3 ways. You're going to have culture, you're going to have the role itself, and you're going to have product. And yes, I just did 2 twice. So when you think about culture, you're going to think about work-life balance, the size of the company, because that changes the culture a lot. You're going to think about benefits, and you're going to think about flexibility. Do you need some remote working days? Do you want to be able to travel a lot? Do you need flexible hours because you're a parent, or you don't keep a average sleep schedule? Things like that. You're going to think about the role itself. So what technologies do you really want to work with? What technologies will you not work with or really don't want to? What does your day-to-day look like? What's the position? What's the title? What's your salary range? So that's going to be about the role. And then you're also going to think about the product. So this is more about the company itself and the product itself. Is there specific alignment of the company that you want? And I'm not talking about chaotic neutral. I'm talking about, do they have a product that's doing good in the world? Are they just neutral, like it's not good or bad, it just is a product? Or do you really not care? Up to you. Do you want to work on a business-to-business product? Do you want to work on a direct-to-consumer product? Do you not care either way? Do you want to be more like a consultant? And what industries would be especially exciting to you? So once you've made your wish list, you're going to write it down so you can refer to it, because we're going to turn this dream job into a reality. So the next step in phase 1 is to study. So you're going to go back to basics. You might be saying to yourself, well, yeah, when I got my first job, I had to study a lot because I hadn't had the job before, but now I've been working for, 3, 6, 12 months, and I don't need to study, right? Like I already do the job. Wrong. Unfortunately, the Venn diagram of interviewing skills and engineering skills do not make a flat circle. Don't make a like this. So you actually do need to study. So for studying, like I said, you're going to go back to basics. One more thing. So I used to do a lot of interviewing at my previous company, and I saw people who were 10, 15 years engineering experience under their belt come in and bomb an interview because they obviously just had not brushed up on interviewing at all. So don't let that be you. So phase 1 studying. Yeah, so go back to basics. You're gonna study any frameworks that you are looking to use or are using. You need to think about how to use them, why to use them, what problem does it solve, and what are some basic implementations. Get back to language basics. Are there any gotchas? If you're talking about like CSS, think about the box model, HTML5 stuff. That I'm thinking more like JavaScript web development, but anything in your language, get back to basics. If you're going for a full stack or a back-end role, you definitely have to study systems design, and algorithms. And then you also, communications on here 3 times, because communication is really important. Any of these things that you study when you're working on practice problems, you need to practice saying it out loud even if you're sitting by yourself. You have to go through and act like you are explaining it to someone else, because that's what interviewing is thinking through something and explaining what you're thinking. And if you can't think it through if you can't talk it through as you're thinking, then you need to have a thought and then pause and say, okay, I just thought about this. This is my conclusion because of X, Y, and Z. And you need to be able to do that. So that's why it's so, so important. And this slide is in here because it has links to some things I think are really good for studying. And in the speaker notes for the slides, I have why I like it, or if I've used it in my experience. I'm not going to go into that right now, just there for you later. And your resume. So you need to go back and redo your resume. This is all still phase 1. Go back and you need to make your resume. So tailor your resume, think back to that dream job, look at your requirements, tailor your resume for that job. Highlight the skills that would be good for that job, and then you're going to seek feedback. You're going to get some people to look at it, and then you're going to stop seeking feedback, because opinions about resumes are like butts, and everybody has one, and they're all different. Okay, so you can show your resume to 10 different people and get 10 totally different sets of feedback. So what you want to do is limit it to a certain number of people that you trust. Make some changes that you think will make a big difference about like readability and focus, and then stop, because you'll just keep editing your resume forever. All right, find and get found. So what does this mean? It sounds weird. So you want to find jobs that you want to apply for. You're going to think about those dream jobs. So don't limit yourself. Just think about any companies you think would be cool to work for that you've heard about or that you use their product. You're going to put those on your list. We're making a list. Put those on your list. I don't care if you don't think they have engineers. I don't care if you know they don't have engineers. Just put it all on the list. If you don't think they're hiring, put it on the list. And then you're going to think about companies you can get referrals for that maybe you're not super excited to work for, but if you can get a referral, that's a foot in the door, and who knows, maybe you'll like it. So get those referrals, put those on the list. Then you also want to get found. So what I mean by this is you want to update your LinkedIn, because those recruiter emails, if you've been working at a job, your first engineering job for like at least 6 months, 3 months, you're going to start getting actual credible unsolicited emails. So you want to update your LinkedIn and any other services like that are used in your area. LinkedIn, Stack Overflow might have some, GitHub, anything where you can check a box that's like seeking new opportunities. You want to do that. And then, so like I said, you're going to start getting these recruiter emails. There's basically 2 types of recruiters. There's internal recruiters and external recruiters. So internal recruiters, I'm referring to people who work for the companies that they're hiring for. So like if they send you an email about a job for Facebook, they work for Facebook. Then there's external recruiters where they work at a different company and they were hired by Facebook. I'm just using Facebook as an example to scout people for Facebook. So there are 2 different types of recruiters. Internal recruiters, contact them, use them, save those emails, add them to your list. External recruiters, I'm not trying to put anybody on blast, but it can be very hit or miss in my experience. If you want to work with an external recruiter that can give you job offers not offers, but interviews from a lot of different places, ask around and see if you know anybody who has worked with a good external recruiter. And regardless, pick out the ones you think sound cool, and then also just grab like the most recent ones from the past month or 2, because you need that. Add that all to your list. So you have your list. Oh, I just talked about that. Great. Okay, now we're in phase 2. Phase 2 is make a system, trust the system, work the system. All about systems right now. So for the system, you need a tracking framework. You need something that will track due dates, your interest level, steps, and any notes or to-dos that you have. And I recommend Google Sheets. You can just use like a spreadsheet program, any spreadsheet program. Trello is really great, free option that you can mark things as private. There's Notion, also great free personal note-taking app where you can do like a Kanban style board. And then you could also just do like post-it notes or something like that. So those are the features you want to have. And with this, you're gonna track all the jobs, all those, that list that you made of all the companies that you might be able to get interviews with. You're gonna put them all in here, and you're gonna track everything. And you need to set it up so that you don't have to remember anything. You just have to look at it, because if you're still working and you're job searching, you're gonna forget something, and it's gonna be really overwhelming. But you need to set it up so that you don't have to remember to send that email or remember to get that resume to that person or whatever. Remember that you have a call on whatever date. You just need to be able to trust it. That's what I mean by trust it. Because you don't want to lose that opportunity just because you forgot to respond to an email. You also need to make time for studying, and you need to make time for resting. At least one day a week you need to take off, like really take off, and don't check your email. But every other day, once a day, you're going to check it. You're going to check your lists and your boards, and you're going to check your email, and you're going to respond to what you need to respond to. Let me make sure I said everything. Yeah. Oh, so goal number 1, don't burn out. Goal number 2, get the job. So make sure you're resting. Okay, so trust the system. So now that you have this whole list, hopefully you've marked your interest level for each position, and you are going to start doing your practice interviews. So it doesn't mean that you definitely wouldn't take an offer from that company. Maybe you definitely wouldn't. But companies that if you didn't get it, it would be okay. It wouldn't be the end of the world, right? It wouldn't hurt your feelings so much, because you need to practice interviewing because you're rusty. So I recommend starting with at least 2, maybe 2 to 3, if you are working, and credible, like interviews that you think you have a high likelihood of moving forward with. So start with at least 2. If you're still working, 2 to 3. If you're not working, 3 to 5, or maybe more, whatever you can handle. But I recommend at least 2 because of what I'll get into later. And that's also based on your schedule and how much PTO and like when you can take calls and stuff like that. Because remember, it's goal 1, don't burn out. Don't burn out. So set the pace, keep the pace. So once you have a pace that you think you can maintain, you're kind of going on a marathon right now. This isn't a sprint. So even though it's going to be difficult and annoying, and you're going to be tired, and you're going to be working and also interviewing, you're going to want to try to keep that pace up, because once you get the ball rolling on the interview process, it's really hard to pump the brakes. You want to schedule strategically. So what I mean by that is when you're sending out the resumes and they get back and they're like, okay, hey, let's schedule a call to talk about the role. Decide whether you are going to do that. You're going to take like an afternoon off or a morning off if you're working and get all those calls in, or are you going to swap? Are you going to like not swap? Are you going to sprinkle them throughout the day and just be like, oh, I'll take this call when I go on a walk at my lunch break. I'm going to take this call right before I go home. Sprinkle them throughout your day, throughout the week. You want to synchronize your processes so that the goal, the dream is that you have multiple offers roll in at the same time, so you can leverage them against each other and you can actually make a choice. So you don't feel pressure to just take whatever comes in first. So that's what I mean by synchronize. You're going to want to put in those offers in a way that will have, not the offers, put in the applications in a way that will have those offers rolling in at the same time. So if you're going for like a big company, like a Amazon, a Google, a Facebook, a New York Times, like ones that are going to take a long time because they're big or they have a lot of infrastructure, you're going to want to put those in like immediately because it's going to take so long to get an interview. And then smaller companies and startups usually move like really quick. And also just remember to shoot for the stars, because once you have at least one on-site under your belt, like definitely if you have an on-site under your belt, you've practiced, you need to start putting in those dream job applications. Okay, so troubleshooting steps. There's a lot to get through, but I think this is helpful, or I've been told when I was practicing that it was. So if you are getting no responses from resumes at all, I would tweak your resume, because I said stop seeking feedback, but if you're not getting any response to these to your resume, then maybe there is something that's missing. So go back and get some more feedback, tweak that resume to see if there's something you can do. If you're doing cover letters, do that also. Get referrals. I said to get some referrals. If you're sitting there and you're like, oh, well, I don't have anybody that can refer me anywhere. Yes, you do. You've been working for a year. You have like coworkers and previous coworkers. You have people that you studied with, or people you've met at meetups, or people in the chat right now. Like, these are all people that are potential referrals, right? So either you're not being confident enough of yourself and you're not going out for it, or you I don't know, no one will refer you because they're annoying jerks. If everyone in your life is an annoying jerk, you might be the annoying jerk. And getting a new job is a great opportunity to turn over a new leaf and not be like that. Okay, so if you're stuck on the phone screen, so you had a behavioral phone screen with like a recruiter or a hiring manager and you didn't hear anything back. Think back to those questions that they asked you and how you answered. Maybe make a list and think about good crafted answers, not canned. You don't want to sound like a robot, but good answers to those questions that will get your point across well. Questions like, what do you want out of your next job? Why are you leaving this job? Why did you leave your last job? What do you think about these types of technologies, or things like that? So write that down and have actual responses for them, and you want to spin positive. So you don't want to lie. I'm not telling you to lie, but for example, when I was interviewing for my first job, I did some mock interviews, and some feedback that I got was like, hey, you need to be more positive. And what happened was they were like, oh, well, why did you switch careers? Like, why did you go to coding boot camp? And I was like, oh, well, I hated my previous job. I was really unhappy. I wasn't making any money, and I didn't want to do it. I knew I wasn't going to do it anymore, so I needed something else. And that focuses on everything that I hated about my last job and doesn't say anything about why I chose coding. So instead of saying any of that, you can say like, oh, I found coding really exciting and I was ready for a change, and I thought coding was really exciting. It felt like a puzzle. I really enjoyed doing it. So I was just ready to move on to something new. That sounds way more positive and doesn't sound like you're angry and sad, even if you are a little angry and sad. Stuck on the tech phone screen. So if you had the technical phone screen or a take home and you got rejections after that, then you need to study more and you need to practice communicating, because that's what they're looking for. It on a phone screen, technical phone screen, it's about communication, and for the take home, it's about studying. So make sure that when you get that phone screen or the phone screen or the take home, before you start doing it, ask them. Like every step in the process that I had, I asked them, like, what will this be about? Can you tell me more about the topics covered? And they will usually tell you something like, oh, it's more front end, or oh, it's using React. And then you can brush up on your React skills, and then you can do better on that. Who knew giving a 30-minute talk after being in isolation, not talking for like 3 weeks, would make your voice go away? Okay, stuck on the onsite. This is some of the same stuff. You know, behavioral questions, spin it to positive, practice answers, think about good answers for the questions that you're getting, and also moderate your confidence. Sometimes when people get nervous, they just go from like one end of the spectrum to the other. And on one end, you have like, oh, I'm really nervous, so I can't make any decisions on my own. I'm not sure if anything's right, so I'm just waiting for the interviewer to tell me if this is the right answer or not. And on the other end, you have like, I know this is the right answer because I'm gonna ace this interview, and like you're not listening to feedback and you're not responding to the interviewer and you're not coming across in a good way. So you want to be in the middle where you're like, I thought about this answer, I think this is right because of X, Y, and Z, but also be flexible to changing up your approach based on feedback. And then the last two are you're overheating or you can't power on. So remember to pace yourself. Maybe you bit off a little more than you could actually chew. So step down how many applications you're going out. Try to cut down on your the time that you're spending on other things if you can. Don't go to work early, don't stay at work late, you know, actually take lunch, actually go for a walk. Make sure you're getting enough sleep every night, like basic, like take care of yourself things. Take a bath, listen to a nice podcast, something, read a book before bed, something like that. All right. Oh, reach out to your support system. And if that's not working and you're still really overwhelmed, then maybe you should quit your job. I don't know. It's a decision only you can make. All right, phase 3. They call you. They're like, Liz, we're giving you the job. And you pull one of these party monsters. You do a party foul and you break the bowl. Okay, first step. Thank you so much. I'm so excited. I'll get back to you. That's what you say. You say like, thanks so much. I'm so excited for this opportunity. I can't wait to review everything and get back to you. Because you're going to negotiate and you're going to fast forward on all these other processes. You don't have to give them an answer right then. You don't have to give them an answer like that day. You don't have to give them an answer the next day. You should be able to wait at least a week. They should be understanding. So you're going to talk to any other company you're in the process with that you're excited about. You're going to say, hey, I just got an offer, but I'd really like to consider you when I make my final decision. Can we expedite the interview at all? And then you're going to get ready to negotiate. Everybody says you should negotiate no matter what. And everybody gets scared to negotiate when it's time to negotiate. Most people do. But I don't care if the offer was higher than you were expecting. I don't care if it's way more than you make now. I don't care if you don't have another offer on the table. I don't care if the recruiter made it sound like they don't negotiate. You're still going to come back with a counter offer because the worst they can say is no. And if on the rare occasion that they say, you know what, we're rescinding the offer, you dodged a bullet because that company's not going to respect you. Okay, so you're going to do your research so you can negotiate. You're going to look at the benefits and the equity and the take-home pay. You're going to do your research and figure out what that means to you. And you're going to come back and you're going to say like, hey, I saw when I was looking that you only offer X number of PTO days. Is there any flexibility in PTO days? I was looking for more of this many PTO days. That's all you have to say with your list of things that you want. That's it. And just see what they say. And if you have another offer, then you can be like, oh, in my other offer, I was offered this, and that was really exciting to me. Can you match it? And if it is the company you want to go for, then tell them like, if you were able to match X, Y, and Z, I would be ready to sign now. All right. So now we're going to talk about how I got my second job. We're going to do a quick timeline. So was it time for me to get a job? Did I outgrow my job? I still had a job, so it's not the second one. Was I burned out? I was super burned out. I was so burned out that I went back and I found a picture of myself before I got my new job, and it looked a little bit like this. The resemblance to the This Is Fine dog is striking. So all those things I said about the greatest hits of burning out, that was me. Don't judge. So here's a timeline of how I got that job. In November, I started on my resume. It took forever. I hated it, but I came out with like what I think is a decent resume. I got feedback. December, I started studying. I put together my dream team. I talked to people to get referrals. Referrals can come from weird places sometimes. Make sure anybody that you can safely tell that won't endanger your current job if you're working, that you're looking for a job, tell them. Because I do roller skating, and there's a girl that I skate with. I told her that I was looking for a job because I was feeling burned out, and she gave me a referral. You never know where these referrals are going to come from. I created my list. I started my system. I'm going to show you my Trello board with all the sensitive information stripped out. And I applied for about 5 applications in December, including ones through recruiters. And that was a weird time to apply for jobs, starting November, December, because there's a bunch of holidays. So I don't recommend that because it slowed everything down. And in some ways, I think I got some rejections because they were like, oh, let's just make a decision before we leave the office. And maybe they would, I don't know, maybe they would have made a different decision otherwise. Okay, that's what I did. Let's look at the Trello board. Yeah, Oh, I also need to see the Trello board. 1 second. Okay, so Trello. You can see I have like to-dos, positions I want to apply for, positions I looked into that are not hiring, ones that I was hoping to get a referral for. I put due dates on things. If I emailed them an application or if I was referred, did I need to follow up for any of these steps? Was I applying or a recruiter applying? Do I need to follow up? Phone screen follow up, coding challenge follow up, on-site follow up, negotiation, and rejections. This doesn't have all the rejections because sometimes things didn't make it onto the board totally if it was through the recruiter. But yeah, it was intense, but I didn't have to remember anything. All I had to remember was to check this in my email every day. And that's how you want it to be. Okay. Okay, so the timeline. I told you I put my dream team together. I started studying Sundays. Not every Sunday, but some Sundays with a friend. Studying algorithms, looking over code that I wanted to learn, studying systems design stuff. And then January, I applied for another like 7 applications. Things were picking back up because people were back from the new year from like major common holidays. And I had 3 on-sites in January. Things really started to get going. This is what I'm talking about. Like when the ball starts rolling, it's really hard to stop. I was so tired. I was grumpy. I was overwhelmed. I did 3 on-sites. I got a bunch of rejections. And then in February, I got 2 offers at the same time. I was living the dream. I negotiated. I accepted an offer and I quit my job. It was great. So, what did I get out of all this? It took me 4 months and I did 12 applications, which doesn't seem like that much, but I was really focused. It wasn't like a spray and pray approach. It was really focused on jobs that I thought I could get and jobs I could get referrals for. So it's kind of like a high likelihood of at least getting to the phone screen step. And so 8 phone screens, 8 take homes, 3 on-sites. And then my rejections, I got ghosted on 3 resumes. I got rejection for 1 resume. What's up, Peloton? I got 2 technical phone screens. I got rejections after those. I'm not super good at technical phone screens because I can't see the person. I do pretty good at on-sites, but I'm not good when it's just someone on the phone asking me questions. Coding challenge, one of them I totally bombed. I opened it up and I knew it wasn't going to happen for me that day. The other one, I did the coding challenge and they said that they had already continued with someone else who, like, they hired someone who was further on in the process. And then I got a rejection from 1 on-site that really, broke my heart. And then I stopped 3 interviews after I started getting offers. Rejection's really difficult. Make sure you lean on your support system. So even if you're not searching right now, there's 3 things that everyone can do today, tomorrow, this weekend. You can hit the book, start studying. It sounds like a drag. You don't have to study every day. You don't have to study every week, but maybe a couple times a month, once a month, get a group together. You don't have to be able to solve everything on your own. It's about familiarity. It's about recognizing that, oh yeah, this is that one algorithm, and then trying to work back through it. You don't be a stranger to people that you know. This is your network. So networking sounds icky, but it's just like get a drink, go out to lunch, buy somebody a coffee, hang out with them. You can do a lot of these things digitally. Have a digital game night, have a digital coffee chat with someone. Just hang out with them and be like, hey, how's it going? So that way, when you do want something from them, you're not just calling them out of the blue and being like, give me a referral. And 3, update all your stuff. Keep a running list of the projects that you're working on, cool ones, important ones. Nothing with sensitive information, but like how many people were on the team? What was the goal? Like if it's a public feature, maybe the person's like someone else saw that feature. And write it down in a personal list that you have, so when it's time to update your resume, it's all ready to go. Keep your LinkedIn update so you can get those recruiter emails. That's key. All right, so again, I'm Liz Phillips. I stream Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern. We're going over like basics right now, which is a good time to start. Beginner friendly stream. I'm also illuminatedSpace, that's my Twitch name. I'm Liz Codes on Twitter, and if you want these slides, you can get them at that link. So I'm ready for questions. All right, I see the first question rolling in from Full Stack Live. Would you recommend actively creating content, blog, LinkedIn posts to boost the application process? So I've been streaming for over a year now, and I have a backlog of, VODs and stuff, and I don't think it really affected the process at all. I had one interview where I went into the on-site and they were like, wow, we checked out your stream, and it was really touching, but that was the rejection that I got. So I don't think it really matters. I think something that's going to help you continue to grow is important. Like, I didn't really get nervous for interviews, and I think part of it is because of streaming. So I highly recommend stuff like that that's just going to keep you learning, keep you interested, keep you on your toes, keep you practicing outside of work. If you can deal with it, not all the time. You don't have to stream every week, but yeah. Any other questions? Shout outs to these awesome these. Okay, next question. It's Litany. What would you do if you have to make the choice between a final interview that you feel is very likely and turning up to work? I mean, I would go for the final interview, but I don't know. That's not a choice anybody can make. Me personally, I would go for the interview. You can also try to reschedule stuff, but I would go for the interview if you think it's pretty likely. But I also thought one of my on-sites was really likely and I got a rejection, so I don't know. Mr. Demon Wolf, how do you deal with times when you get focused on task/work and it's hard to take a break? Happens a lot with me when I know I should take a break. Yeah, ADD brain right here. What do? You can try to set reminders. You can do like Pomodoro, tomatotimer.com. It'll do an alert when it's time to, every 25 minutes. So you can like stand up, drink some water. Having somebody else who's like, will help you. Like my partner is always like, you should take a break. You're working too much. That's helpful. If you can't do that, try to set up a system that will help you do that. Setting up a board like Trello or Notion or whatever is helpful for me, because then I can see like, whoa, there's way too much stuff on this list. Like, I can't do all this. I know that about myself. So you should pare down. I hope that helps. Any other questions? Okay, not my second job, but negotiation is so important, and it becomes even more important when your list grows to family and more. Do you have anything out of the ordinary on your list? Oh, for negotiation? I mean, this is like really real, I guess, but I have a medication that I have to take, and so I didn't have to negotiate or anything, but if there was a job I wanted to take and they didn't offer insurance that covered my medication, that would have been something I would have definitely negotiated with or for. I was prepared to negotiate for more vacation days, but yeah, I don't think I have anything weird on my list. Yeah, maybe next time. Maybe I'll be more bold for my third job and I'll get something real good. How about portfolio? How important is? Okay. So I'm just gonna switch to this again real quick. Oh, or I'm not. Or there it is. Okay. You see this to-do list? It says finish website, and the due date was December 1st, 2019. It is now March 9th, and my website's still not finished. Nobody asked to see it. So it's not important. Again, it's one of those things that I feel like falls under like, oh, is having a portfolio website going to keep you like fresh? Then do it. But if it's not, then don't. Because nobody cared. Nobody cared during my job search process. I'm from elsewhere in the world and I don't quite understand references / referrals things. Are most of the referrals that you talked about people that can give you a lead on an employer they know and can put in a word for you, or rather people who can be emailed or called by the employer? Oh, no, I'm talking about like referrals and references. Like, there's a lot of programs in the country where it's like, in the US at least, where they will even offer you money. So if you work at a company, a big company, and you make a referral, you can submit someone, and if they get far enough in the interview process, you actually get like money, like cash money. So things like that, or even if there's not money involved, you can just submit someone's name and be like, hey, this person is interested in working here. And it'll help you get past that like initial hurdle. Like instead of your resume going in a pile, it'll get put in front of someone. I don't know if that answers your question or not, Outfrost. But that's pretty common in the US, I think. Yeah. Anything else, or is that time for us? Okay, cool. Seems like I answered your question. I didn't think this talk was for me, but it was pretty helpful still just to analyze where you are in your career. Nemoi, I'm so glad to hear you say that. I'm glad that you found it helpful. I worked really hard to try to make it just the hits. So I'm really glad to hear that. Yeah. Is a website ever really finished though? No, it never is. All right, it seems like we're going to be wrapping up soon. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. Thanks for the great questions and comments. Yeah, feel free to drop in on my stream whenever to ask questions like that. Thank you.